Beauties, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm completely barefaced, and that's because in today's video, I'm going to be unboxing and sharing my initial thoughts on this Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. I'm so excited to finally test this out. I picked it up a couple days ago now from Sephora. This is actually my very first Pat McGrath Labs purchase. At this point, it's somewhat hard to believe. Of course, Pat McGrath is well established, well respected in the beauty industry. Every time she launches a new product, it hits almost instant cult favorite status. She has a huge loyal fan base, so when I heard she was launching her first foundation, I was really intrigued and I knew, okay, it's about time I bite the bullet and try something from Pat McGrath. I didn't really have any expectations because this is my first purchase, so a little bit of sticker shock. This foundation retails for $68. So I have my receipt here from Sephora. With taxes, it came out to $72.76, which I think we can all agree is somewhat steep for a foundation. But I figured there's got to be something really special about it to justify that price point. I've resisted watching any other reviews so I could form my own opinion and see if it's really worth the hype. The first thing I noticed was, of course, the packaging, and I really love what they did here. I think the box is very sleek. It looks like somebody took a lot of time and really thought about the design. I love the gold foil lettering, the text, the font. All of the little details are really special, and it looks incredibly premium. On the back, you have the complete list of ingredients. I love this because a lot of times with foundations you have to flip through a teeny tiny little booklet and pull out a magnifying glass or go on the website. Sometimes you have to call a 1-800 number just to find the ingredients in the product. So I love that they listed everything on the back. I think that is incredibly transparent. And then on the side, it gives you a little information about the formula itself. And then there's some more information on the front. So here it says 1.18 fluid ounces. The bottle is a little bit larger than the standard 1 ounce bottle of foundation. Of course, the most important detail is the formula inside. But when you pay a higher price point, it does come with certain expectations. So far, I'm really pleased with everything from the box, the bottle, the beautiful label. It really lives up to the standard of what you want out of a luxury foundation and a luxury price point. Now, before we dive right in, let's quickly go over a couple details just to set our expectations. So this foundation is available in 36 shades, and there are 5 shade levels. Before I went to Sephora, I did the shade finder on their website, and they matched me to light medium 12. But when I went to the store and I swatched them on my hand, I opted instead to pick up the light medium 9. So I went down a couple shades. I would suggest trying to make it to the store so you can really find a good shade match for you. Even if a brand has 30 or more shades of a foundation, sometimes it can lean very heavily on one side of the spectrum, whereas this looked like a really nice range. It has a sheer but buildable to medium coverage. It's self-setting, long-wearing with a silky texture and satin finish, which I always love. And there's some skincare involved, so hyaluronic acid, ceramides. It has soft focus pigments, which will help kind of blur imperfections. It's paraben-free, talc-free, fragrance-free, which I absolutely love, probably my favorite detail, and it's oil-free, so it's not going to be super heavy. In fact, when I was swatching it on my hand to pick my perfect shade, I felt like it was very thin, almost watery, and that's not what I expected. I thought it was going to have a thick, kind of creamy, luxurious texture, and it simply does not. So that leads me to believe that it might also be best applied with fingers. So I'm going to zoom you in as I apply this. I'm going to do my fingers on this side and then a foundation brush on the other. All right, the box recommends a good shake, so that's what we've done. And I should quickly point out that this launched with a primer and a setting powder. Even though the foundation is supposed to be self-setting, I only picked up the foundation. I figure most people are probably like me and not picking up the entire kit and caboodle right off the bat. But I did prime my skin with Dior Dream Skin. It helps with redness and pores. It's one of my favorite primers, and it's sort of a last step of skincare, first step of makeup type of product. It does not interfere or interact with any of the foundations that I put on top. So that way it won't really make a difference when forming an opinion on this foundation. So let's go ahead and pump it up. It is so thin. It is kind of crazy how thin it is. It's kind of watery, a little runny. It doesn't even really coat your finger. Like if I'm just kind of rubbing, I still see skin. That's how light it is. So we'll see. I think the shade is really nice. It's very thin. I'll probably finish this half of the face and then maybe go in with a little bit more to see if it does truly build up to a medium coverage. I can still see my freckles and, you know, my skin shining through the foundation, which is nice. It's not bad. It certainly feels very lightweight. But I can see a lot of my pores still, so that's how much skin is still showing, is that I can still see every single pore, which I personally don't love. Now I'm gonna go in with the Chanel paddle brush. Now that my face is completely covered in foundation, my initial thoughts are that it is nice, but I'm not really blown away by it. It feels very tacky on the skin. I don't know if anybody else is having this experience, but it just feels very sticky. Even though it's very light and very thin, it's tacky, and I know it's oil-free, but it just has a little bit of like a greasy slip to it. I also can see a lot of my pores, which I don't really struggle with. And I use the Dior Skin Primer, which generally does a really great job helping to eliminate that problem with any foundation that I use. So I don't love the way it looks. I think the finish is very pretty, although not satin. It's far more shiny and dewy and luminous than I would have expected. And perhaps that's because I don't have the primer on that goes with this foundation. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my makeup and then reconvene. I went back in with a little bit more foundation to cover up what I had smeared away. I completed my makeup, and this is the finished look. So I'm back with a couple final thoughts. For one thing, I really like the overall appearance now that I have all of the other products on my face. I don't feel like I can see at my pores as much. I think it looks very smooth, actually, which is kind of surprising, and almost like a flawless face. I think it really does look overall very nice, so I'm happy with that aspect of the foundation. The finish is still a lot more glowy than I would expect from a satin finish. When I think of satin, or in the past when I've purchased a satin finish foundation, it's been more of a luminous matte. But this is almost like a doesn't ever dry down completely glowy, luminous finish. It certainly reflects a lot of light, and I have a lot of lights shining on my face right now to film, which is not how you go through normal life. So I will be excited to see how it wears throughout the day and if that changes, but it's now been on my skin for a while. So if it was going to dry down, I would imagine that it would have done so. I don't mind the finish. I think it looks really nice. I just think if you're somebody who doesn't like a lot of shine or glow, you would either need to go in with a lot of setting powder, or you might just not really love this foundation. And considering it's a self-setting foundation, it doesn't really set. I will say that. The texture and the stickiness, that's something that I usually find with a long wear foundation, and I truly have never tried a sheer coverage long wear foundation. I don't know if there are many foundations like that on the market. So on the one hand, I think she really came out with something very unique, very unexpected, and kind of a tricky animal. It's like its own beast, not something that I'm used to working with. So that kind of threw me. I don't necessarily love that sticky texture. It's the type of stickiness that if a little hair or a little piece of fuzz or something touches your face, it plasters and just kind of sticks to your face. Another thing, it made powder products a little bit trickier to apply. So when I went in with my bronzer, even though I had set with a powder, I used my Chanel loose powder, it almost grabs the powder and grabbed the product so that my bronzer was a little bit patchy. If you've ever experienced that, you know what I mean. When a foundation doesn't quite dry down and it still maintains that tack, any powder that you put on top is going to be really hard to blend. So I found that to be the case with my bronzer. Not the worst thing in the world. I just had to make sure to really go in and blend with my powder brush to make sure that it didn't look kind of crazy and patchy, but it wouldn't be something that you could just kind of throw on the foundation and do it like a quick, easy makeup. I think it might be something that you kind of have to take into consideration when doing your makeup in the morning. So that being said, if the stickiness equates to long wear, I'm okay with that. I can deal with that. If the stickiness does not mean that it's going to be long wearing, I'm not a huge fan. So right now, the jury's still sort of out. I'm excited to try this foundation with different primers. It's probably going to take me a couple days of wearing this foundation and playing around with it before I can really form my final opinion and decide whether or not it's something that I truly love and will continue to wear, or it's something that I don't necessarily think has a place within my personal foundation wardrobe. I think it's the type of foundation that some people will really love and is perfect for them. Other people might not enjoy it as much. If it lasts, if this is truly a long wear foundation, then I would say that the Pat McGrath foundation is well worth the money. It's just too soon to tell at this moment, but of course I will keep you guys updated. For now, that completes this video, so thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave me any of your comments or your questions down below. I'm very curious to hear from you guys. Have you tried this foundation? What did you think about it? Is it something that is on your radar at all? Are you hoping to try it soon? Drop me a comment so we can keep the conversation going there. As always, I will be linking all of the products mentioned, everything that I used today on my face, down below in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.